So my name is Marguerita Isola, and I am an artist from Mediterranean, but I live and work on itinerant basis. Actually, I'm in Barcelona. My background is in contemporary dance, and as a visual artist, I explore different medias and practice, which address topics like migration, which is connected to colonialism, capitalization, and in specific, I'm interested in capitalization of Gaia and of our life. And I just can say that many of my works are inspired or include autobiographical elements, and more and more I understand art and artistic practice as micropolitical works, and in a way also kind of therapeutic work, both on a personal level and on a collective one. For this presentation, I decided to focus on a project that is a project that is now in the residency at Espacio Rojo, that is titled Guerrilla Drugstore. I want just to say that this project officially born during the pandemic, but actually it has been thought before, and I want to say this because after the pandemic, let me pass this term, but become a little bit fashion also to speak about health and yes, caring, but actually my interesting rise before and rise from something that I discovered. My ignorance is quite big, so it takes me time to discover that there are plants that are forbidden. And I'm not speaking about like marijuana, opium, or other psychedelic plant. I'm speaking about plants like, for example, stevia, that has been a plant forbidden in Spain for many years. And so when I discovered this, I said, wow, I needed to work on that because seems me so injustice. At the time I was already working with plants because I've lived in Brazil for quite a long time, and of course over there there is a big and wise knowledge and tradition of healing plants and the use of plants in rituals. So coming back to the project, this project started in a kind of underground way because during the pandemic I started to plant some of these plants, forbidden or in any case plants that are charged of symbolic but also have a very concrete meaning, because most of these plants are connected to some financial interest of pharmaceutical lobby in my terrace. And from this I started this idea of a guerrilla drugstore to create really a kind of pharmacy, street pharmacy, about this plant, this community of forbidden, sometimes oppressed plant, invisibilized, because there are a lot of plants that we will not speak about. And for me also this is like a human being, so like when like the same body of human person that we don't give visibilization, is happened the same thing with plants. So a lot of plants are invisibilized or capitalized. And this pharmacy is not a specific, it takes the shape of a network, of a living and expanding network that is made by being, plants, and human being. And this network, it's managed in a self-autonomous way. So sometimes can last longer, sometimes can last 2-3 days, so becomes ephemeral, or sometimes can last years. This is my desire. And this pharmacy, born in Barcelona, but with this desire of spreading outside. So now there is an intervention here in Madrid. It's not the first intervention, and there has been also an intervention in Valencia. And for the future of this year, would be in Bruxelles and one in Kinshasa in Congo. So just to say that this idea of a body that really occupy urban space through this practice of healing and caring. The pharmacy, the protagonist of the pharmacy, I said, are plants. So the poetic is really consider plants as a kind of aliadas. And these plants, each point of the pharmacy is dedicated to a specific plant or a family of plants that are chosen in dialogue with the nature of the place and the healing power of the plants. So, for example, here I just put some example of the points that have been activated since now. Another things I have to tell you, because I think it's important, is that this network of being, plants and a human being, involves, in the case of human being, people like you, so people also that I meet occasionally in the street, the complicity of friends or artists that I know that could be resonate with the project, community, local community, so sometimes I've involved like communal garden, and institution, art institution like museum and gallery, but also like institution, like for example, here in the picture you've seen this one is a CAP in Barcelona, in a district of Raval, and I was very happy because the nursery decided to embrace the project, and we plant a point of the pharmacy in the hall of the CAP. So just to say that the intention was also to involve institution, because I really think, I don't like usually institution, but I think that it's important, because also to give strength to the network, and also maybe to enact a change, because sometimes we need also this connection and interaction, I think. So what I wanted to explain are also different typology of how this point of the pharmacy raise, because of course when I planted, like with friend or with the complicity of the person, of the passengers, I call this kind of action like hacker gardening. That means that we occupy in a illegal or clandestine way municipal space. So the double idea was that the municipality would take care of the point without knowing. And this for me was a poetic also gesture to, yes, to extend also municipality as part of the network. And so this, for example, in the first picture, we see that during the pandemic, I don't know if you remember, a lot of space were enclosed. In this case, this is a municipal garden, and so I put inside this, in this case, the plant protagonist is Artemisia annua, that actually was very strong, because Artemisia annua is a very polemic plant, is a super booster of immunological system, and in that period, especially in a third world country, it was used to heal coronavirus, and the community of official scientists and medicine, there was a kind of censoration about this plant, and so I decided to plant in the neighborhood of Raval, that is a space, this is a neighbor of migrant, especially migrant in Barcelona, and of drugs people and sexual connected to sexual workers. So I thought that this plant was really the place for this plant would be this kind of context. And in the middle, for example, you cannot see because I choose the outside. This was the outside of a gallery, of Tangent Gallery, that is a gallery with which I collaborate, and we plant in the, I don't know what the name in English and also in Spanish, when there is a tree, you have this in all ground around here. We planted this plant that is Hipérico. Hipérico is like San Juan, la hierba de San Juan, and it's a plant also this that is very interesting for me because it is a scientific study has proved that this plant is a very good antidepressive plant, and with almost zero collateral effect. But of course, it's so powerful, this plant, that for example, if you are pregnant, you cannot use. So when you deal with plants, it doesn't mean that you have to do what you want. I mean, you have to take seriously. The healing power is strong. But for example, also there is a completely, now the pharmaceutical lobby, of course, they start to capitalize also this kind of plants, but for a long period, they omitted or discredit the effectiveness of this plant in favor to promote chemical antidepressive. And sorry, I wanted also to say about Artemisia annua, the first one, that was the first plant of the pharmacy. And in case of Artemisia annua, it's really awful that, for example, this plant treats many diseases. And it's a proved anti-malaric plant. And just to let you understand better, this plant has been forbidden in many countries, like for example in Gambia, but in Africa has been forbidden in many African countries where the rise of malaria is high, to promote the vaccine that is based on artemisina, that is a molecular extract from the plant. So just to let you know in specific what we are speaking about in this project. In this last one, that is in the medical center, I choose a plant that is very common, but is invisibilized because we don't value, and this plant is Tarassaco, I think in Spanish, il diente di león, in English, I don't know, but it's a very, very common plant. And also, diente di león, during the COVID, there was a study to use il diente di león to, let's say, heal, but in any case, as a prevention. And I think that during a pandemic it was already a good advance to work in prevention at the time. So this is just to tell you, or for example, in this park of Barcelona, Il Montjuïc, that is one of the most beautiful, I think, green spot of the city, I decided to create a spot of the pharmacy with plants related to dreams. And I included, so to dreams, because also in that period, a lot of people had difficulties, start to have anxiety. And I think that anxiety maybe is a contemporary disease with depression and other like cholesterol or hypertension, but anxiety. And so I put, claro, la manzanilla, camomilla, that is a super plant that, for example, in my imaginary, I associated just with childhood, because when I was a child, my mom gave me a lot of manzanilla for when I had a stomach or stuff like this. But in reality, manzanilla, especially for women, is one of the most important plants you can ever have. And in Latin name, the name is matrix, that means utero. So the manzanilla is much more than a plant for kids or for the stomach ache. And I included also La Saggia Divinorum, that is a plant for divination, because I think that the gesture here of this point of the pharmacy was also to include plants that break a little bit this logocentric dimension and perspective. So I think that dreams or oniric or everything connected to unconscious can bring us keys to understand each other and reality. This I think was interesting because this is like an extension of a point of the pharmacy that was created in a community garden, and the plant, the protagonist is Tulsi. Tulsi is a plant from India, and is called in India like the plants of immortality. So just this should say, wow, what is this plant? Because it heals a lot of stuff, and especially, and this scientific study prove, it's very good also for everything related to breath and cold. So we were during the COVID, so I thought to extend the point. So the official point is in this communal garden, and I extended to the people, homeless people living in the neighborhood. So we distributed really as a kind of street remedy. And for me it was very touchy to see that some of them, they were really happy in a kind of also emotional link with the plants. And for me it was really like to promote autonomy practice on health through, as I said right here, through love and rebellion. And this, well, connects a little bit more to the deep meaning of this project, that is, yes, to create this poetical and political connection with the plants, but also to, through the promotion of autonomy on our health, on our body, also to enact strategy to decolonize or descapitalize and despatriarchalize our lives. And in this picture, for example, I would like to speak about another of the remedy, that is tobacco. Because tobacco is one of the plants that is included. And when I say this, everybody say, oh, tobacco, ah. And instead, tobacco is a good example of how a plant that is considered sacred plant for many indigenous people has been capitalized and I would say really also violated, because it has become a plant of death when actually is a super powerful healing plant that still now people like Guarani use in terms of healing and of divination. So what I did, I was in São Paulo and I took from a viveri of that is in the periphery of São Paulo, and this I like because it's connected a bit with how the periphery can be a motor of culture and thought, and is this garden is the owner, let's say, are a group of old women, and they have beautiful plants. Amongst them there were tobacco, so I took this, I took the semence, the seeds of this plant, and I decided is the only remedy of the pharmacy that is not outside, so I didn't plant it in the city, but I really created a kind of caring network, one-to-one, asking person if they would like to take care of this plant, and in a gesture of giving back the dignity that has been stolen in this 500 years of colonialism. And I asked to a dear friend to compose a song dedicated to the spirit of the plants in order to enact this rehabilitation. So this is the letter that each caregiver received, because sometimes I give one-to-one, and at the very beginning I planted the different tobacco, so the caregiver received the plants and the song. But then this waving is still going on, and I just send the seeds and the letter that you can have here with the song. And I just would like to also add, these are not all the point, I just did a selection, so you had an idea more or less. And during the process, and this now is the part that I like most, that if at the beginning was really literally, no, we create a pharmacy, so we plant and that's it. Now, maybe also because of my nature and background, I'm interested to see from the plant, from a reconnection with the plants, what can what can arise. So there are this border that are like performing action or I don't know, here I call overflows because it's really fluid, the nature of this. So for example, with my friend Yera Moreno, that she's a artist, teacher, activist that she works at la Facultad de Bellas Artes in Madrid. She invited me to perform this ritual that actually I did in the place of the, well, I'm explaining bad. But she invited me to perform a ritual connected to one of the plants of the pharmacy, where we created a tintura madre, these plants together with the student, and was the student take care temporary of the plants, then we, how do you say, cosechar? We cosechamos juntos, and then we did this transformation, and was like a way of experiment, new way of taking care of something, so not just through the cultivation. Agua de affetto, that if you remember is connected to the point outside of the gallery, the Iperico, the antidepressive, that is called Erba de San Juan. And in Italy, in San Juan, at least in my region, we have this tradition of the water of San Juan. That is a magical, we say that it is a magical water that is based most of Iperico, but there are other plants. So from this, it came out at the time I was in residency a La Escocesa, che è una comunità artistica di Barcelona. So I proposed to the artist this taller where we created our own, I called here agua de affetto, so based on a vegetable or a fruit or a plant that you have an emotional connection, and based on the capacity of water, they say that water has the capacity to transmit memory. So we created like magical water on the day of San Juan using your own plants of the heart, let's say like this. And then it was nice because during the taller we shared. So the idea was, okay, I create mine, but at the same time, when you speak about your agua de affetto, you affect another person because, you know, sometimes memory is like this. And I'm speaking now about this Punto Sabia very shortly because it's the last point I activated al K2M here in Mostole. And was nice also because, you know, when the first time I went to Mostole, I didn't know nothing about Madrid, and I say, wow, what are all these descampados? So it touched me a lot because in the train you say, wow, I go to the countryside, I say, and it's been beautiful because me too, I mean, it was something present very strong. And this point was nice because we, I don't know if you don't know K2M, that they have they have a terrace, and they already have a project that L'Huerto in Terraza. So they invite me to integrate Al Huerto di Terraza and create a small part of the garden dedicated. I choose to work with plants for menopause. Because I thought that was important for a museum to speak about something that is not so much maybe now, but it's a kind of invisibilized as well, like older process, no? We have to be young forever, so I said, let's work on plants. So we work actually on a community of plants because there are many phytohormonal plants. And I involve a group of old women that wave, and that they meet already al K2M, so the coincidence was nice, because il gruppo de Tejidora de Móstole, that I invite you to discover because they are great. They realize, because they wave like a crazy. I'm a practical, I like to embroider, I have a textile art practical, but they were incredible. If you go to K2M, you will see they did beautiful mariposa, they did everything in the garden. And the idea was, we had several, we developed this point like through a workshop, so we had a different meeting, and the idea was during the waving also to speak about, most of them are already in menopause, so I wanted to know what was your experience, because I think that, I'm not now giving the workshop, but there is also a construction, a very patriarchal construction about menopause. And what is interesting, that study has discovered that if you think that you will have a series of problems, you will probably have all this series of problems. And in Occidental, it's a typical Western approach, we have stigmatized menopause as a problematic period. That, for example, in other culture, and now this, so I took a parenthesis, my future project is about this. In China, they call menopause the second spring. So I thought that I say, see also how we colonialize our body, even if in the West, we are in the Western society, because I much prefer embrace this idea of menopause as a possibility of a new spring, like where you are an adolescent. So this is a little bit, and was very nice because to confront this with a group of women that already passed through, and most of them, I think in their time was worse than now, was very nice. So beside, this is more and more I try to go toward this direction, so to activate the point, not just as with the methodology of planting, but really what can birth from this practice. And I'm very interested, especially to create a community, as you said, because otherwise becomes quite sterile. I prefer so go alone and do my clandestine pharmacy, I don't know. But before finish, I want to do a little experience with you that is about Tabak Tarab. That is a desborde, is overflow that burns, have origin from the plants tobacco. So I propose at the gallery tangent this listening experience. So we can, I can put here, Marta, help me. So I will show, no, because it doesn't, non lo apre. Ah, lo apre? Ah, okay. So here you see some, I passed some of the part picture of the performance. That maybe I will propose to Bionic Festival. Where is the artist? I said maybe you give me an idea. No, I mean here me I think is nicer because the plant is present as a scent, as a smell. So I use essential oil of tobacco, and when you enter in the gallery, you could feel everybody say, "Wow, what is the smell?" And actually, the smell of tobacco is very flower. So also this deconstruct all imaginary you can have of the plants. And bueno, I propose as part of, here are pictures, as part of the performance, there is this kind of waving the caregiving network, so finding new caregiver of tobacco, and I create this kind of collective practice, very close to meditation, to allow that first to connect you to yourself, because otherwise it's not possible So maybe this is about sustainability as well. I don't think you can connect outside if you are disconnected inside. It seems to me very difficult. So the idea of this performance was to try at first to create a connection between ourselves and between the people present in the space. And then there was the listening of the song we composed for the Spirit of Tobacco that if you want, we can listen now together. So just to prepare, yes, it's the last thing. So just to prepare this, if you need, if you want to get up and change a place, or if you are comfortable in your place, are you comfortable in your place? You can close the eyes, please. Close the eyes, cierra los ojos, y un poquito, si quieres, aunque un poco de stretching, que fue bien longa esta mañana. Y puedes poner una mano en el corazón. You can put a hand over your heart. And just maybe take 1 minute just to listen. Simplemente solo un momento para escuchar tu latido del corazón, si consigues sentirlo bien, o simplemente anche tu respiración. Intenta realmente de dejarte ir junto a este movimiento que está en tu pecho. Imagina este olor de flor dulce y bien penetrante en el espacio de esta planta hermosa, bien verde, con hoja muy larga y flores pequeñas que pueden ser rosa, rosa claro, blanco o un rosa más vivo, pequeña campánula. Intenta de ver esta campánula rosa que salgan de tu corazón con estas hojas grandes, largas, verdes y este olor dulce penetrante. Y sin perder la conexión que has encontrado ahora con tú mismo, and without lose the connection that maybe now you have with your heart and with these magical sacred plants. We listen. ¿Qué pasa? You need more time, I think. Bueno. Calma, puoi aprire le cose.